In this lesson we will continue adding geometry to our scene, but first of all I wanted to tell you that this is meant to be as an intermediate course, tutorial actually, not course. So I assume that you already know some basic commands and basic navigation and stuff like that. So for those of you who are not really familiar with those, I recommend that you do some beginner tutorials at first. So I'm sorry if sometimes I move too fast and some of you may not be able to follow. I will try to explain everything as we go on. Second of all, I wanted to tell you something about the way we modeled the house so far, because basically we kept adding this geometry, these lines, and we prepared everything on the model, and then we bridged them, and as you can see we spent almost half an hour modeling this quite simple house. And I'm sure some of you, especially those who have worked on architectural visualizations before, are familiar with the Boolean tool, which is much simpler to use. So instead of just adding those support edges as we did before, you would have just created a box and then another box, I don't know, and another box, and so on, and just use Boolean to quickly cut those into the main mesh. So pro Boolean, start picking, bam bam, and we already have a quite complex geometry model here. So some of you, especially those that are coming from SketchUp, where things are much easier to model, may be like, hey, what the fuck, Stefan, why are we doing it like this? This takes a lot of time, it doesn't worth it. And you may be right in a way, but I don't recommend using this Boolean technique just if you're in a hurry and you need to finish something very fast, because otherwise these type of meshes are not very flexible. If you want to modify them later on, you might get some problems. As you can see right here, if I move these vertices, I start to get some weird edges, you know. And I'm sure that those of you who have used Boolean have encountered these kind of issues. So it's a great tool, it's very fast, but I won't recommend using it. Just use it if you need to finish something very, very fast. Otherwise, use this technique, it's better, I found, with time. Great. Now I think we can get back to the actual modeling. First of all, what I want to do is I want to make I want to have an option to hide these planes really fast, because as we'll keep working, we won't use them all the time. So one very quick way, and this is a very good tip, is to just select them all. So I selected all the planes, as you can see, and here in this tab where it says create selection set, I can just click and write planes, hit enter. Now click again anywhere in the viewport. And now if I go into this drop down menu and I click on planes, I can easily right click and select hide selections, and I'm left only with my geometry. And when I need them back, unhide all. Click hide selection. Okay, first of all, what I want to do is I want to go into the top view and go and create a box that will be my my floor planes. I will use that as floor planes for the house. So draw a box like this. You notice that I extended the limits of the box beyond the inner limits of the wall, inner faces of the walls. Great. Let's go into the modify panel and assign it a height of 15 centimeters because that will be what we need. Let's go into the front view and select the box, and let's move it until it sits roughly about here. So that will be the ground floor. Then let's copy it up, shift drag to have it for the first floor plane, and then let's move it up again, probably like that. Okay, now I want to create the same thing for this part of the plane. So this time I will use a different technique. I will go into the line creation tool, and I will click a point and hold shift to have perfect 90 degrees line creation, and I will create a line like this. Okay, and last thing, I will click here, it will ask me close spline, and I will hit OK. Great. Now I can go into the modify panel and fine-tune these if I need. Instead of clicking on the vertex, I hit 1 on the keyboard and it brings me to the vertex mode. So these look okay. Alright, now I want to extrude this line, also 15 centimeters. Great, right click, convert to editable poly, and I want to move it up here and copy it and move it down here. Go into the vertex mode and bring these vertices back. I think roughly about here. Okay, that looks all right. Great. Let's bring back our planes. So unhide all, and now I want to start by modeling the window frames. So I'm going to select the front view and hit Alt Q, go into the front view, and yeah, before starting to model these windows, I would recommend, especially for those of you who don't have previous architectural training, to take a look at some reference photos with windows, because many times I've seen people that don't know the real scale of the objects. I've seen them model objects that just don't have the right scale, and if you do so, it will look completely fake in your scene most of the times. Actually, I've seen images with beds that were like, I don't know, 3 meters wide and very tall, and that's just fake. Don't do it. Okay, so as you can see here, the window has a exterior frame and then an interior frame. This is roughly, I don't know, 5 to 7 centimeters. This is maybe 5 centimeters, and yeah, let's do that. So at this point the video is cut in with another video, because at the last parts of the tutorial that I was recording earlier I realized that I just made a stupid mistake, and basically I have to do it again to record it again. So this time let's do it right, I hope. Alright, let's isolate our front plane, go into the front view and start modeling. I will start with a box with 5 by 5, actually 6 by 5 centimeters height. Notice that I had auto grid enabled earlier. Alright, convert this to an editable poly, go into element mode, copy it, rotate it 90 degrees, and with snap enabled just move it there. Alright, let me see. Okay, now let's add a symmetry modifier. Hit 1 to go into the mirror axis mode and move it like this. Right click, copy and paste it again. Hit 1 to go into the mirror modifier, go into the rotation tool and just rotate it 180 degrees. Convert it to an editable poly and select these edges and control backspace to remove them. Alright, now select this element, move it, align the vertices with these ones, and yeah, we have a window frame. Great. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to add in the small indents in which the glass will go. So let me see how we're gonna do that. Okay, go into the top view, go into the edge mode and select all of these edges, hit connect and connect them 2 times. Alright, hit chamfer and chamfer these edges 0.3 centimeters. Great. Now select these edges, do a connect with only one segment and move this segment right about here. Alright, that looks pretty much okay. Okay. Let me see, how are we gonna do this? Okay, so in order to not get some weird clipping, we are gonna select these faces and we are gonna extrude them outwards, and the part that is gonna this part is gonna remain in, and that's where the window will go. And here just select all of these all of these faces. Okay, and hit extrude, maybe 1.5 centimeters. Great. And basically now we have these holes where the windows will go, but when we extrude it 1.5 centimeters, we because we extruded, now we have these faces overlapping these areas and in these areas. So let's fix that. Select this element and while holding Control, click on the vertex mode. So basically what this does is it selects all the vertices that are on this element, and only from this element. So if I hold Control and click, as you can see, it selected the vertices of only this element. So I can go into the front view, deselect the bottom ones, enable snapping on this axis, and just move them down. Great. Now we want to repeat these steps for all of these other elements. So hold 5, go into the element mode, select these elements, hold Control, deselect these, enable moving on the x-axis by clicking on it and move it just like that. Same for this one. Deselect these and enable snapping on this axis and move him like this. And for this element, sorry, I locked the selection there. By the way, this is a good tip to use when you want to move things. Like in this case, I want to move these vertices, but I want to make sure that I accidentally don't select anything else. So I hit space to lock the selection, and now I can't select anything else. The selection is locked, and it's a easy way to move these up. And another way to do it, if you don't manage with the snap, because snap is a little bit tricky sometimes, you can just do as we did before and select this element, hold Control, select his vertices, deselect those, right click on the move tool, and you can just type in here -1.5 centimeters, because we know from earlier that we extruded these 1.5 centimeters. So this is great. Now we have the holes for the window right here, and in this part we don't have them because we won't need those holes there. Great. There are some issues here, as you can see, because we extruded these this way, but I assure you this won't show up in the final render because they're just so small, and even if they show up, it won't matter, you won't notice them. So this part is pretty much done. Now let's do the other window. Let me see where it was. So this window I think is fixed, and this one opens inside. So we won't model it exactly like it is there because first of all, the image is quite low res and I can't see exactly what's happening. So I created a box. Well, no, actually I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna select these elements and copy them in front, click OK, click actually no, before we do so, I wanna put in the glass elements in here because it will save us some time later on. You will see why. So go into the top view, go on the box creation, and you can have auto grid enabled, it doesn't matter, and just create a box like this. So the glass element has to go in between these two lines, so we have to make sure that it's almost the same dimension as those, and let's just move it so it sits in here and in the other side as well. As you can see here, we have a small error, but this won't show up. This hole won't be visible because here it will be the wall that will cover it up, so we don't have to fix that because we want to move as fast as possible, as always. So we have the first glass element in place. I just made sure it runs over a little bit over these areas. Great. And now let's copy it so that it sits in the other slot as well. And the reason we are putting in 2 sheets of glass is because that's usually how windows are made in the real world, and it will slow down the render quite a bit in the areas of the windows. So if you have a slow computer, you may want to put in only 1 sheet of glass instead of 2, but adding 2 will make the reflection much more realistic. And if you have a good computer and you can afford the render time, you should do it. If you have a crappy computer, just add in only 1 sheet of glass, but the reflection will look a little bit faker than in this case. Great. So first of all, I want to assign a black material to these ones and give them the override material that we created earlier, so I can see better what's happening. And now I want to attach the glass elements, these ones to the frame. So with those selected, select attach and click on the geometry, right click to end the command. And now I want to select these elements, copy them, go into the edge mode and delete these edges because I won't need those, and go into the border mode, 3 on the keyboard, and move this border like so. And let's see, we can be real profi here and do like this, bridge these segments, bridge. Notice that I skipped the first one, so the second one I've bridged, and skipped the third one, because if I bridge it this way, then I can easily go into the border mode, select these borders and hit cap. Great. Now let's detach this, select them, detach. I have a shortcut enabled for detach, by the way, so if you can't follow up, detach is right here in this menu. So detach. I'm using a lot of shortcuts, by the way, so I'm sorry if I'm skipping, as I said, some things. I will try to do maybe a beginner tutorial where I will explain my shortcuts. So this symmetry I will use to copy this part down here because I don't want to waste time modeling it again. So symmetry, z-axis, convert to editable poly, and let me just delete this border, control backspace to delete those. And let me see, it looks pretty good. I think there's a slight error here somewhere. Let me see. Yeah, there's a slight error inside, but that won't make any difference. I want to copy this part here now. Sorry, not shell, but symmetry. If you don't find them here in this tab, you have to go and search them here. Symmetry. All right, so let me see what that just did. That's what I wanted to do. All right, convert to editable poly. Remove those edges with control backspace, and now I want to move this behind this first geometry that I created. And let me see, let me move it maybe, I don't know, about 3 centimeters down. As you can see, I'm looking here to see how much I move it, so about 3. It doesn't have to be exact. This is not surgery, so we can cheat a little bit. So now, to make sure that I move it the right amount, I first move it roughly to where the position of the front element is, and then dragging, I watch it to be roughly 3. Great. Same here. Okay. So again, I'm watching these menus here, and here the same thing. I will move it roughly to the first position and 3. Okay. Now let's just bring both of these in front. Move these a little bit back, and let me see how does it look. I think I can actually, let me see what I can do here. Actually, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can just bring it in front like this, because this area won't be so visible in the final render anyway. Great. Now let's attach it to this one. I have a shortcut assigned for attach as well, so if you don't have that assigned, mine is Ctrl+Shift+A. You can just go and select this one and click attach, and right click to end the command, sorry. Okay, this looks pretty much the way I want it to, but as you can see, because it hasn't got any chamfers yet, it looks super fake and doesn't resemble a window at all. So I want to chamfer it, but first of all I'm going to select the window elements. So make sure they are selected, hit detach. Alright, and now go into the polygon mode, and I will show you a trick to very quickly select only the outer edges of an object so you can chamfer them very fast. So go into the polygon mode, clear all, into the polygon smoothing groups, you will find it in your menu, and then click auto smooth. Then go to the edge mode, and if you don't have this ribbon right here, just go into customize, show UI, and check this box, show ribbon. And with the edge mode enabled, I will go into the ribbon mode, into the selection menu, and under select I want to select hard. And basically what this has done is it has selected only the hard edges of my geometry without me doing any work. So it's a great tool, I use it a lot, it helps me very much with what I do. Go into the chamfer and chamfer them 0.5 centimeters, maybe a little bit less, let's see, 0.4. Let me see how that looks. Sorry, chamfer 0.4. Well, it looks good. There maybe is a little bit too much, but let's just undo. Let's chamfer it. Let's see, 0.3. The general rule here is that is better to chamfer it more than to chamfer it less, because a small chamfer won't be visible most likely, and it will it's better to be a big chamfer. That's the rule, so trust me on that. And you can even add 2 segments. Actually, for this one, let's add 2 segments. Okay, great. So now it looks more like a window. We have some detail here, some shading is happening because of the chamfer. And yeah, what are those weird edges, man? So let me see, when I chamfer it, 0.3. Okay, I don't know, I just got some very weird edges before. I don't know what those were. So great. Now we can attach the glass element back. Make sure it's attached, move it to make sure, and great. Let's bring it in front. Exit the isolate selection mode. Select these two, isolate them, and let's just make sure this sits roughly in the middle of the wall, like this. We have to make sure that these areas are a little bit over the the inner faces of the window opening. So as you can see, yes, they are a little bit over, so I won't have any sorry, I won't have any light leaking in through those areas. Great. Now let's just copy this here, and we will use it to make this window. Right click and end isolate selection, and now isolate, let me see, this one and this one and this new window that we just made. Great. Let me just check with the image. So this window is basically this part of this window, and it's mirrored on the other side but with a bigger central pillar. So first of all, let me just make the right height of it. Great. In this part it doesn't matter because you won't see it. I will mirror the left part in the right. Great. Now put a symmetry modifier on it, flip it, hit 1 to go into the mirror axis editing, right click, convert to an editable poly, Alt X to see through, and now let's just move it so as, let me see what's happening here. Okay, so I might have to move it like that, I think. Yes, Alt X again, so this area should be there, here, and we have this window ready. Alt X, let me just recheck. Yeah, it looks fine. It doesn't matter that it's not exactly right here. We're not looking to reproduce exactly those details because that's just not the point of this exercise. Great. Now exit isolation and copy this one down here, and let's just isolate these three, zoom in, Alt X to see through. Let's just move the vertices where they need to be roughly. Okay, and what I think I missed some vertices here, so like that, Alt X, and I will put a symmetry once again, flip it, hit 1 to go into the move axis mode or rotate axis mode. I don't know what this is called actually, but that's the way I call it, so doesn't matter. And with Alt X I want to make sure that this pillar will sit on this line roughly here, and this where it should be right there. Great. Let's just copy it here, and let me see, we can delete this whole part, I think. Hit Alt X to see better what's happening. Yes. Let me see. Well, actually the easiest way to do it is to add a symmetry, flip it, and now we have this part which we know is what we need. We have it on the other side. Convert to an editable poly, select these edges, control backspace to remove them, and just move these vertices where they should be, like this. Alright, that looks pretty alright to me. I hope I didn't make any stupid errors this time, because I will really get mad. Great. End isolate. By the way, you can end isolate selection, so if I have this isolated with Alt Q again, and it ends isolate, but you should know that already. So shift drag this window. I want to use it for this part of the for this window opening. And what is here? What is here? I have some vertices here, and I'm gonna hit what? Okay. I think yes, that just happened. So so let me show you what to do when this thing happens, because it's a great tip actually that I've learned from an old colleague of mine. So at this point, basically the scene is, as you can see, there's an error, stupid error that has occurred, and basically it asks us if we want to save a copy of our current scene. And if I click OK right now, what will happen is it will save, it will attempt actually to save, because we don't have any guarantee that it will do a clean save. So it will attempt to save this scene as it is right now, in this moment, with everything we've done until exactly this moment when it froze. But the stupid thing here is that it could save it, and because something happened that crashed the scene, it could save it, and when we try to open it, it could be corrupted, and we won't be able to use it. But if you remember, in the first lesson we assigned a project folder for this project. So I assigned mine in I have it assigned right here, so 3ds Max projects, and I have it under house tutorial. So if I go into this folder, you can see that my scenes are saved here in the scenes folder, and I have this folder which is called autoback. And basically this is a folder where Max once in a while saves a copy of your scene that you're working on. And I can go into the date modified selection, actually not selection, what is it called, sort by date modified, and I can see that the last scene was saved at 2:40 p.m. and now it's 2:50 p.m. It's 2:50 p.m. so it was saved 10 minutes before. And if I click OK on this menu that has come up here, most likely it will save this. So this attempt to save will override this auto backup number 2 that is made here. So before I want to click OK here, I want to make a new folder in this auto back folder and rename it, I don't know, first backup. Actually I messed up the name, but that doesn't matter. And copy this last file here. So in case that Max overrides this file, which is autoback number 2, and the file that Max saves over this will be corrupt, I will have an option to go back to the last autoback that was made before this error. So now I'm just gonna click OK here, and it says okay, that it was saved on the house tutorial, so the project folder we assigned first, autoback lesson 5 recover. So I guess this is a newer version of Max, and maybe you don't have to do that, but I know in older versions this was a problem. Okay, so send an report to Autodesk. I don't want that, I just want Max to work. So I will reopen it, and I will try to see what has happened. I will pause the video for a bit. Alright, so we are back. I actually opened this lesson 5 recover that Max asked me if I want to try to save, and the problem is that in these two windows, yes, windows that I created before, I have these vertices here, which I somehow didn't, I don't know actually how they ended up there. And if I try to remove them by hitting backspace, basically Max will freeze. So I will remove them in another way. I will just attach these two elements one to another, and I will go into the symmetry, where it is here, symmetry, and to the z-axis, and I will call it flip. And yeah, that is it basically. Now if I convert them to an editable poly and I remove these edges by control backspace, the vertices up here have disappeared because I've mirrored basically the bottom part on the top. Great. Let's select these elements, copy them, detach them, align the pivot, and yeah, let's move them into place. So like this, like this, like so, and these ones. All right, let's move a little bit in front, and that's pretty much it for the windows. On the front part, we have to do the side parts now, and the back parts I won't do those here because you get the point. There's no point on me doing that right now. So I'm gonna go into the left view and make sure these are in the proper spot. That looks okay. Copy it. Notice that I select, when I copy them, I select the copy mode here, not the instance mode. So be careful with that, because if you instance them, it will change each window. So according to the changes you do to the last object or to any of them, and you will realize at the end of your work that you have 100 windows that they're all the same. So be careful with that. This is great. I don't know if, no, I will leave this part empty because we won't see that in our render anyway. Now I want to hide the planes, so go into the menu as I showed earlier, hide selection, and very fast I want to repair an error that I did before in the last lesson when I extruded these polygons. So basically I extrude them because I wanted to leave this part a little bit pushed in and extrude this part out, but accidentally I didn't deselect this part, so the whole thing got extruded 6.5 centimeters, and as you can see now this part is not pushed in. So let's just fix that. Let's go into the polygon mode and delete these polygons, and this one here and this one here. Great. Now we will repair it. Very easy. Select these two, hit bridge, select these two, hit bridge, select this border, hit cap, and the same thing down here. So select these two, sorry, bridge, and let me see, these two, the bridge. I'm using Alt Z to zoom in like that, by the way, and actually now we have to select the last one and cap. So Alt Z and click with your left mouse after you pushed Alt Z, and you can zoom in more precisely. and that looks pretty much alright to me. What's up with this window? I don't get it. Should look black, should have black edges. Oh, it's on the Alt X mode, that's why it looked differently. Great. And very quickly let's do the door. Sorry. So I want to unhide all to bring back the planes and just isolate these two like that, and let's check the image. So it's basically very similar to the windows, except it has a small detail in this area here, I think, and that's pretty much it. And let's see how we can do it very fast. Yeah, I will use the geometry from the windows. So select this part, copy it here, detach. Again, I use the keyboard shortcut. If you don't assign a keyboard shortcut, if you want to use the menus, just go select the geometry that you want to detach and click on detach in the menu right here. So after I detach it, I go into it, and this will be my front frame for the window. Or actually, let me see if I rotate it. Yeah, this is better. If I rotate it 180 degrees and move it into place, we almost have a finished door already. Let's see. The only problem with it is sorry, that is a little bit too small. So let's select these areas, so the back part of it, and detached it because we don't need it right now. And now, as we did before, I want to move these parts in on all the sides, roughly about, actually let's do it like you should do it, 5 centimeters. I think it will be alright. -5, yes. These ones on the y-axis -5. I missed some there, sorry. So on the y-axis -5, these ones on the x-axis 5, and these ones on the y-axis 5. So this is it. We have the door modeled. The difference between the door and windows, it's the door is supposed to have a handle, and it also is supposed to have some hinges here. So let's go into the top view, create a cylinder, and I don't know, roughly about 0.75 radius, 0.65 actually, with only one height segments. Go into the front view and let's see. I think this should be, yeah, I think 12.5 centimeters tall. It's all right. And yeah, it should be one roughly about here and one in the top. Just put it like that. Okay, convert it to an editable poly, connect, chamfer, hit, select open chamfer, this area, this button right here. So do it like that. Go on to the border mode, select this border, hit cap, and now into the edge selections, just select the outer edges, yeah, and chamfer those. But now I don't want an open chamfer, so be sure to don't do it with an open chamfer. And this looks alright. You could model it more, but at the distance we're looking at it, it won't matter, I assure you. Except if you are gonna do like a super high res render. So with this selected, I want to attach the bottom one to it, and with the door selected, I want to attach these to the door, and I want to attach the back part to what we modeled so far because we detached it earlier. Next, we want to create the door handle. Go into the cylinder, auto grid, just create a cylinder on this part. Should be around I don't know, 2 centimeters in radius maybe. I have 18 sides selected, converted to an editable poly, and let's just make it the right size. So again, I move these vertices almost to overlap the others, and as I drag, I watch this menu to see how much I'm dragging. So I'm dragging 0.6, that's alright. And delete the, sorry, actually no, I want to move it a little bit like this and copy it again down here. Great. And let's see. Yeah, let's do a pro ball in here. So no, actually I can copy this right here, scale it down just like that. Let me see, a little bit more. Okay, copy it down, scale it, but you should scale it only on this axis so the thickness remains the same. And if your scaling doesn't work right, so you may have a little another scale mode enabled. So if you have another scale mode, you would it is possible to get weird results. So make sure you have this scaling mode selected if you get some errors, and scale it down a little bit. And let me see, just delete, no, sorry, let's detach these two first. Let's assign that material that we created to them so we can see what we are doing actually. And go into the face mode, polygon mode, sorry, delete these polygons and delete these polygons. And actually no, let's not delete those yet, let's just delete these two, and go into the edge mode, select these two edges and shift drag them upwards. Now we can see we have to delete these two. Let's select this and hit bridge, this and this, sorry, not that, but this one, this and hit bridge. Select this bottom polygons and scale them down a little bit, just like so. So this looks pretty alright. I hope I've got the right scale. And alright, we're back. I had to take a small break there. So we have to select these borders for the geometry we just created, hit cap and make it a little bit bigger than this cylinder. And with the cylinder selected, just go into compound objects, pro ball in, start picking and remove that part. Now right click, convert it to an editable poly, and we can make some connects here. Right click, connect, just to make sure we have some supporting edges. And by the way, a very useful command that I use, and I just found about this after, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years or 3ds Max, is I don't know how you call this in English. It's the point and comma. So if I select two vertices and I hit connect, it connects these two, and if I select another two that I want to connect, instead of right clicking and selecting connect again, I can press point and comma, or 2 points if you hold shift, that key. It's right near the L key, so when I use that key, it repeats the last command, so it's very useful. I just found out about it. So I will do like this. I will connect those, then select. Oh, we have another issue here. Let me see. Okay, let me just delete this and cap it again. All right, so now I want to select all of these and do a small inset, just like that. Maybe pull it outward a little bit, and let me see if I add a mesh smooth. That makes it super crazy, but why it makes it that crazy? Let's see. Let me just see again. Let me take a look. Alright, so we have to delete this part. That's what's causing that super crazy look. And yeah, we have to add a little bit more edges. Maybe connect these two. Connect. Maybe these two. Connect, where it is, right here. And maybe add another inset to these faces. Sorry. So another inset. Let me see now. So that looks a little bit better. It still has some weird clipping around the edges. No, maybe I can do another connect here to make it a little bit more or less better. So with two mesh smooths, let me see how does it look. So this looks pretty nice. Maybe we can do another inset here to make this area a little bit sharper. Actually, let's do a connect here. So yeah, that looks much better than we need to actually, because again we will see this from a large distance, but nevertheless you've learned how to model a part like that, I hope. And let me see this top part, just inset this a little bit like that, once again like that, and inset this just once, and it looks okay. And the last thing we want to do is we want to create the door handle. Let me see if I have a door handle example to show you very fast. Yeah, we can do a basic bend one, just like this, because even though that's not the case in our render, actually I don't know, because it's very pixelated. So yeah, let's do something like this because it's easy and fast to do. So sorry, let's just go into the top view and create a line. Disable auto grid in this case, create the line like so. Actually, no, delete it, and once again I want to take a close look in this menu right here. So I first click, hold shift, and yeah, actually the menu, I can see where the first point is being made, so it's roughly at minus 474, and I wanna maybe move it down 4 centimeters, so minus 479, 5 centimeters. So on this axis it sits as 256, so I want to move it about 12, 13. So 256 plus 12, 268. I hope I didn't fucked up the math there. Hopefully you will tell me if I did. So I created the line. Now I just want to select this point and go into the fillet, click on it and do something like that. Let me just recheck with the reference. So you should always go back and forth with your references to make sure you do it right. So it's very close, maybe a little bit more. Just undo it and maybe like that. Alright, rendering, enabling render, enabling viewport, and with a thickness of 1.7 maybe. That's way too much. Let me just move it up to see. Actually it's not that much. 1.6 I think is okay. Alright, in the interpolation you can add a little bit more segments, maybe 14, to have that smoothness right there, and we can add some more sides, maybe 22, to have smoothness again. Right click, convert to editable poly, delete this part because we don't need that, and this polygon also delete it and recap it, and this one actually we have to recap it, and you have to make sure you do this when you convert these kind of lines to editable poly. Always make sure you delete these parts and then recap them in the border mode, because most often you get weird errors in doing so, in converting lines to editable poly. You get weird errors at the edges. And now with these selected, let me just do a chamfer. I don't know, so let me see, I've got a kind of error here, actually no. So let's do a chamfer with two sides like that, and this looks okay to me. So right click, convert to editable poly, attach this, and you've got yourself a nice door handle. So let's attach it to the door, isolate, so stop the isolate selection, and that is pretty much it. I hope I didn't mess up anything with this lesson. If I did, I'm sorry. In the next one we will be adding the garage door. We will model that nicely. We will be adding the wooden planks. We will be modeling this area here, and if we get time we'll start with adding the floor, the exterior floor, and that kind of thing. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's pretty boring at this point because modeling is the most boring part of the process. By the way, right now I'm attaching all the windows one to another, so while I'm talking but bear with me. I think in 1 or 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, we should finish with modeling, and we can get to more interesting parts like adding the materials and unwrapping. Actually no, because unwrapping is also a lot boring, very boring, but we will eventually arrive to materials and shading and lighting and that sort of thing. So thank you for watching. See you in the next lesson. Arrivederci.